Okay, without Paul here, we don't have enough for a quorum. So I guess we could consider this a work session, just to talk about, throw stuff around. Because I would like to ask, since you're here, Pat, there's a couple questions I'd like to ask you too, so. There's not gonna be any decisions made, nothing to vote on, but me and Ben would at least like to talk about going to Western Port and talking to the mayor and the water commissioner over there. Okay. And what's your name, sir?
Oh, it's Mike Selkman.
Like what?
Selkman, S-E-L-C-K-M-A-N-N.
John and Marcus was supposed to be here. You know if they're coming, Pat?
I have no idea.
Okay. Here's John.
There's half of it.
Like I said, John, I was telling them we don't have a quorum, but we'd still like to talk about the water project a little bit while we have people here. And let everybody know about going over and talking to Western Port.
Okay.
Slide under. It'd be alright if I sat there just so I could
You
scribble
can.
some notes down.
Yes, you can.
Did you see that paper I wrote up in your thing about our meeting with Western Port?
No, see my email, did I send you?
Yeah.
Okay, well, go ahead, carry on with what you got.
Okay, we went to Western Port Saturday, me and Ben, and we met with Laura Legg and Matt Ray. And was questioning about having to go on their water for short term, because we're probably going to have to do that or we get no funding. None of the funding agencies will fund us right now with the situation we're in. They say the short term is to go on to Western Port water. And we talked through a couple things with them, and they are working on Luke's agreement right now, and they said when they got that settled, hopefully this week.
Well, yeah, it's gonna probably take up till the 23rd of
That they would let us look at theirs.
January, or December.
And Ben brought up a bunch of problems we had with being on Western Port, like if we had a fire in town, flushing the hydrants, filling the swimming pool. Their feelings right now is they'll give us no break on them. And then when I asked them about why we were taken out of consideration for the raw water, being on the raw water, they said it was because in 2005 we refused to be put on the line. That's why I wanted to ask you. You was on the water commissioner. Was there a reason we didn't go on it back then? Can you remember?
Cost prohibitive.
Is that what it was?
$75,000 to set a meter in a box, and the price that town of Westernport quoted us, Allegheny County Commissioner stepped in and almost doubled the price per gallon.
And also, at that time, we had no need to go on.
Yeah, we didn't have any need. That was,
We had our own water.
they put that valve in on their own.
Yeah, Tom Smith
Just
put
for
that
backup.
valve in. Tom Smith was the mayor when they run that trunk line.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me with his own mouth that they put that valve up there, and that's specifically to sell Piedmont water.
To sell people.
And that's exactly what he told me. That was his long-range plan. I thought he was crazy, but he might not be so crazy after all.
Yeah.
There was no
Actually, he said he wanted
refusal.
to be down
on it.
to
We just-
220, down in them cool. And
We didn't need it.
220 I was told.
The bad part about, I don't like the word temporary.
Yeah.
I've seen temporary and it's lasted 10 years.
Yeah.
I don't like that. And I don't know what other options we have, but I still feel the first option we have was, what's wrong with our line? Why can't we use our line?
That's what we're talking about doing, is fixing our line, but to get the funding and everything we need to fix it, the
How much
funding
do we
agency
need?
won't give us money.
Well, we can get a bond. They'll give you. That's what we was going to do anyway. We was going to get a $200,000 bond.
Well, let me clarify what I found out so far yet, John. Right now, as of last week, we have a right of entry to go in there and clean out our draw off, or our intake, as you call it. And I was speaking with a couple of people in the Corps of Engineers and in the DEP, and we can go ahead and start progressing on that thing as of now, because we have a verbal commitment for a rate of entry. We can go up there, and as long as we don't take equipment in there. If we take equipment in, we have to go back through this Jamie Larkin, and she'll help us file a permit to take equipment in there or
I
put
knew that.
plaster, cement, or whatever. But things ain't like they were even 5 years ago. I mean, you gotta jump through all kinds of hoops to even get a right of entry permit anymore. And this guy right here can probably tell you the same thing. So, in order to get a maintenance permit, I filed for a 401 maintenance permit that's gonna be a national coverage permit. And what that's gonna do, if they approve it, will give us access to go in there. Of course, we're gonna have to notify them at every move we make. But we can go in there and work on that intake. Now, the next thing about our water is our pump house. The pump house down there is gonna take some valving and everything else to go around that ain't gonna be done for $200,000. Now, the real kicker was the fact that Verso wanted us off of that bridge. And I'm doing some negotiating with them, trying to take some of the liability for the bridge or whatever through the state, not Piedmont, but the state. We sat here with Senator McKinley, or Congressman McKinley, a month ago, and he brought it up, or seemed to have said that the state would probably help out with that liability issue. So if we don't have to go under the river, and all we have to do is refurbish the pump house and a couple of 100 feet of line, yes, that's the way to go. But if they're gonna make us get off the bridge, now we're refurbishing a pipeline or a pump house that's gonna go nowhere anyhow. So that it's still up in the air. I mean, I don't know what to do. As you and I talked there a couple months, or a month ago or whatever, we're probably going to have to make a decision here very shortly. You know, if we don't have something pretty much shovel ready in another month, it ain't gonna materialize before July. That's just the way it is.
Ben had also asked if we went into an agreement with Westernport, we would like to have it in an agreement that it would be short term and we could get off anytime we wanted to if we got our own project going. And he asked if there could be a 3-year contract without any raises, and she stated right out front, if we were to get a 3-year commitment, that it would go from $1.05 per 1,000 gallon to $3.40 per
Yeah,
thousand.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, Westport's not gonna help us.
No.
They're not gonna help this town. And I'm,
And she's
And
going,
their
they're going
water
like in
rates.
January to check about their water rates, so the $1.05's not set in stone till they find out they're not gonna raise their rates in Annapolis.
you take an average water customer, what they're gonna charge, what they quoted you right now, the $1.05, your water rates here is gonna double. They're gonna go up 100%. And there's a lot of people who they can't afford that.
What do we do, Pat? What's the alternative?
Well, here's what's gonna happen. There's a couple things that definitely will happen. First, they're gonna shut down the pool. You won't have a pool with that kind of charges on the water. We have too, there's just too much leakage, and we lose too much water, we can't afford it.
Well,
So the
that's-
pool's going. Now, as far as the town's concerned, we already give our garbage away. The only thing we have for income right now that amounts to anything is water. So if you lose your water, or you go to Westport, lock the door and go home, because the Piedmont will no longer be. I mean, we'll be here, but we won't be incorporated. We won't have a council, we won't have clerks, we won't have a town crew. You ain't gonna have it. Because we ain't gonna have any money to finance it.
You'd probably be left with a couple guys here to read meters, and that'd be it.
Well, that's what I'm saying, you're not gonna have it, I mean.
Well, you know what concerns me is now, we had a meeting in September, 2 months ago. Has anybody looked at this line? We were promised that we were gonna be contacted, we agreed to walk that line with them to see what the problem was, and no one's heard anything.
You were contacted, Pat.
I wasn't.
John was here. He said you was coming.
No, I said,
No.
no, I said I would tell him, but nobody
I wasn't
actually,
contacted.
nobody
Marcus wasn't
contacted,
contacted.
actually, nobody contacted Marcus. We caught Marcus coming off the hill and yelled at him, remember? And he stopped out here, but nobody went to Marcus before I hollered at him and stopped him here.
But I think
But there's people I think that can help us with that line. Marcus,
Yeah.
Jack Poland, if you can get Jack Poland back up there, Jack Poland could really enlighten you a lot about this water system, as much as what Marcus can. But I'm telling you, I don't think we have an option. Either we get back on our water, or
close the door.
we're screwed.
Well,
I mean,
here's,
just-
here's another option, gentlemen, that nobody's talked about. Or we can put the dam back in service, it's gonna have to be inspected. It has to meet a certain criteria.
Well, that's the 401 permit that I applied
Well,
for.
No offense, Artie, but whose fault is that? The town's.
From back
I'm not
10
blaming.
years
I'm
ago.
not blaming you,
No,
the
it ain't you,
administration
but
now.
they went up there and
10
worked
years
on that
ago,
dam.
that's the town's fault.
Yeah, we let them do it.
Yep.
We let them run the canoe judges and all. They ran that off the top of our intake house
Yes.
up there. They never asked us if they could do that. I was the commissioner then. They never asked us to do that. Like I said, they dug in that river up there when I went up and I tried to get them to clean our intake out. They give me every bit of runaround you could hear. Take this, go see this guy, go see this guy. Well, that's when we learned that we owned that land. And me and Mickey got together and I went back up and told them either they fix the intake or get off our property. Didn't take them long in to get down there, and they had a backhoe down there in that river and they was cleaned it out. They cleaned their intake out. Now, I know there's rules and regulations for that. You just can't go up there with the backhoe and dig your intake out. I know that. But there's permits, which they're obtainable. I mean, they're not like, you don't have to go through God to get them. They're tough to get, which they should be. They should be tough to get, or every Tom, Dick, and Harry would have a bulldozer or a backhoe up there in that river digging, and they ain't gonna let that happen, so. But,
Well, as far as the permits go, they've been applied for, and we do have the rate of entry,
well, that's what I say.
and now we can start basically checking the pipeline. But again, if the paper mill is going to run us off the bridge,
But, I would like,
I think they would have to sue the city. to do
yeah,
that.
they would have, yeah.
That
Like I said,
line's
it's
been
been-
there long enough that I think
And-
the city would have a right to maintain that.
And something else
that
too,
bridge.
I don't know who.
That's
you
been there
spoke to,
40
who told
years.
you to get off of that bridge, but I'll bet you Verso the corporate Verso, they ain't gonna tell you to get off that bridge. That was these locals up here that told us to get
Yeah.
off that bridge. I mean,
That line's been there
Verso,
since they tore the old
Verso
iron
has
bridge
an
down.
obligation to the towns around here to be a good neighbor. And our line being on that bridge is a hell of a sight. That's nothing to them.
Yeah,
The liability for the bridge, what would the liability be?
well, I'm thinking the same way you are, but nevertheless, they're the boss right now.
Well, I understand, but like I said, I'd like to know, instead of going, I don't know who you talked to.
Well, I can tell you who I talked
Well,
to.
that's what I'm saying. Did you talk to corporate?
No, I did not.
Well, that's who I'd talk to. I'd go right to Verso. This is not just Verso's only mill. They own mills. They own other paper mills. And I'm going to tell you what, like I said, they owe these towns and the people that have to put up with their stink and their pollution and their noise and everything else. They owe you a little bit of being a good neighbor to you too, And that line being on that bridge is just, if that's all they ever do, that's nothing.
Well, no matter how you shake it, all the people that are involved in this project has been told that the line is to be off the bridge by November 1st of 2020. The engineers and everyone else was in that same meeting I was. They were going to call some other people too. Evidently, they didn't get very far. And we also have a lawyer for this kind of stuff. And that's not going too far. But I did, to just late last week, I talked to the lady from Verso, and she said she's going to bring this stuff up with the guy that's in charge of shutting it down now is Glenn Gilbert, which a lot of you guys probably know him. He's a local guy, He's the guy that I'm going to be talking to about this later on, but the stuff that I brought up about either using their intake or restoring our pump house and putting our line back together, that's all going to be looked at from the corporate standard, because they can't make that decision right here, and so is the bridge. And the corporate will be involved now because Glenn and Deborah Britt is going to see that it is involved. And there's a lot of things that you guys have been out of touch with as far as these permits and things. Sure, you can get them, but you don't go up and snap your fingers and say, hey,
Well, I
I'm going
told
to
you
go
that,
this
I
creek.
understand that, Ben.
Well,
But
the permits
don't
have
make it sound like they're unobtainable. I mean, you can get these permits, but you have a process that you have to go through. And it's only right that you should, or like I said, or every Tom, Dick, and Harry be out there in the river with a bulldozer or a backhoe, you know?
Well,
But,
I agree too, but it's, you know, the way you guys are talking right now is the fact that we should have already had these permits and they've been filed for. And, you know, once it comes into play, that's when we can go up there and take the wood out of that intake and start trying to check out the water line.
yeah, I understand that, Ben, but what I'm saying, there's a lot of things we could do before we even get there. If we go up and take everything out of that intake, then where we at? We still have to get down that line, we still have to make the connections up on 135, and there at the mill, we still have to make those connections, which that could be something that maybe we could,
That could have been done by now.
we could have had that taken care of, you know? But I'm gonna tell you, if we don't go on our own line, we can go home now, we're wasting our time right now.
Hey, we all understand that. I do. And I've been talking about this for the past 4 or 5 years. And Pat, I even took some things to you to present over this whole thing. And this was way before Verso decided they was gonna shut down. And, you know, I'm just as concerned as everybody else is. But you have to go through a process with it. I mean, it's just the way it is. Right now, what we can do, we can get that line checked after we get the sticks and stuff out of the draw off, so they don't clog things up. But we can start checking that line from up there down. Now, evidently, the line from up at the draw off, where I drove and came down through, I didn't walk the whole line because I'm not, tell you the honest truth, I can't. My knees are too bad. But I walked a good half of it. And if you think that the line is on up there and there ain't no leaks coming down, the integrity of the line should be fairly decent down to the hollow over here. What do you call that?
Cold Springs and Frog
Frog
Hall.
Hollow.
Yeah. And that's where the first valve is.
What year was it?
That's your blow
The
off.
Olympics.
Huh?
What year was it? Kayak
85.
Olympics? 85?
Yeah.
85, 86. But coming down that far, you know, if that valve was turned off and the line is, well, let's say statically pressurized, then we're not seeing no leaks up along the way. It looks like the integrity of that pipe is half decent.
Oh, I'd say the pipe's good.
So the next step is, hopefully by tomorrow, I was supposed to have gotten an email by Monday or Tuesday of this week about what the decision was going to be about the bridge. And another thing that I'm trying to work through, if we do have to tap on the western port per se, to take the tap over there by the bridge and come under the river there and tap it into the Luke line. Now, all of Verso's downsizing right now, you know, they're decreasing their whole management process. So I've been through a couple of different people trying to deal with this whole deal. You deal with one until you think you got some good footing on things, and then that person has to go out and go to another project, or you know, if they're not going to be placed somewhere else in the organization, naturally they're looking for another job.
I'm not saying anything about you dealing with them. That's okay, but I think instead of you dealing with them, maybe our representative, our congressman and stuff should be dealing with them.
Well, we had a meeting about that and they were supposed to. Is that not right, Paul?
Yeah.
Well, that was what, the 4th of November we had that meeting?
Well, if they ain't, had to
Well,
call
you
them
was
up
in
and
there
ask them
when
what's
he was
going
here,
on.
John.
If they ain't
Yeah.
doing it, tell them, by God, we got a few votes up here. If they want it, they better do something for them.
Well, this week, you might as well just try to talk to that wall as to try to get anyone on the phone.
You're not gonna get
Oh,
none
this-
this week.
But the people, this Jamie Larkin, I did talk to her today from the Army Corps out of DC. So she's working, and Justin Callahan's working, and some of the people at the paper mill's working. I talked to Deborah Britt this morning, and that's when she told me that she's probably going to be leaving there and going out of the engineering process over that way. So you gotta deal with this whole thing as it comes up, and being able to make it come up is not as easy as it looks. Sure, everyone wants to go with the water, and I do too. But how much would you think that it costs to put a new pump in there? And I know that with the pump, we need about 120 to 140 gallons per minute pump. The house over there has some, it's antiquated electrical system. So what would need to be put into the pump house as far as heaters, electrical system, and a new pump, and naturally the valves. I have several pictures of everything that I've been through with up the hollow, with the pipeline, the draw-off tunnel, the pump house, and half of them valves over there, they've been sitting for 25 years.
Something wrong with it. Good wow.
So there's going to have to be new valves in there, and those things are $3,500 a piece.
Mhm.
So there's going to have to be 3 new valves at $3,500 a piece put in there right away. A pump, 120 to 140 gallon per minute pump with about a 30 horsepower 3-phase motor. I got some quotes on some, but it was pretty astronomical. It was up around.
But you know, I agree with you. But you know, we've been sucking off this system for how long? We haven't put nothing back into it. At least 10 years. I mean, we ain't spent a penny on anything up there for 10 years.
Since 2006.
Like I said, and we've been milking out of this system. We never put a penny back into it. So I know those numbers are high, but I don't
What's in their water
think
reserve?
that's going to be high compared to what Western
Do you
Fort's
have any idea how
water
much is in their water reserve?
I don't know.
You should have. You're supposed to have a water reserve. That's what that's for.
There's no money in any account.
They
I
got-
can almost tell you
Man,
that.
they got valves in the
We
mill
don't-
up there years and years. I mean,
You could have went
it
up in the
took cans and
junkyard.
cans of oil to get the wheels to turn, but they eventually turn.
Well, they're cast iron valves, a lot of them. Some of them are stainless, but not what we have. But I mean,
Well, they're all cast iron that's up there. They'd have to be. I don't know. I
you
don't
look at
know
your
that.
valves that's in the ground here, your fire valves and
Yeah.
your hydrant stuff, they're there for 50, 60, 70 years and they still work.
Yeah, but they get exercised probably twice a year too.
And then some of them don't get
Really,
very much.
with your demand now, it's a lot less than what it used to be. That you should get enough flow to the reservoir even without the pump.
You got
The water
gravity
will go
flow
to
to
the
the
reservoir.
reservoir.
It'll go to the reservoir.
Well,
without
that's
the
the
pump.
thing, but it only puts out.
Yeah, if you don't get the volume.
You can't efficiently run those filters unless you're getting at least 100 gallons a minute into them or more. And it don't even pay you to start up if you ain't getting 100 gallons a minute or right close to it, unless it's water that you're not gonna have to filter. If you gotta filter it in a way, I mean, I've got a pretty good lesson in water filtration plants here in the last 6 months myself. But anyhow, that's basically where we're at on getting anywhere. But
Well, can I say something?
sure.
I don't, and what you're saying about cost and everything, but if we would go on Westernport's water, what's it gonna cost you in the long run?
1.8.
It's just gonna,
1.8.
it's just gonna be, it's not gonna be as sudden as what
No,
this is gonna
in the
cost
long
us, but it's
run.
gonna cost you more than that in the long run. But like I said, if Piedmont don't have water, if we can't sell our customers water, I know you get money off the lottery, you get money off your utility taxes,
Not much.
but you don't get enough money to run this town. And
No, that's for sure.
so
But
to me, that's a
we just can't.
mute question there. What are we gonna do? We don't have a choice but to get back on our water. If we want to remain a town and everything, that's what we got to do. I mean, like I said,
Providing potable water is it's a national issue right now with all that stuff that went on in Flint, Michigan, and all that. There's new legislation that was passed dealing with potable water. I know how what you're talking about. Permits take so long. I think you contact the town contacts the right people. We can get those permits accelerated. I'm sure.
well, the permits ain't really a great big problem right now because we have a 401c permit and we have a right of entry permit. So we can start up there doing whatever we want to do other than taking machinery in there. You know, a shovel or whatever. And with this stuff, with this 401 permit in place, it's not that hard. It's just a matter of what they bring. Like this Jamie Larkin said that she would just come on site and see what needed done, make a description of it, and within a couple of weeks we'd have the permit. But that ain't where my big focus has been. It's what we're going to do with this bridge and if we can come across the bridge, get it funded through the IJDC or the USDA, either way, or the EDA. And in order to do that, you don't snap your fingers and get that to happen either. So, you know, there's a lot of things that's coming close to closure. But now with this week coming up, first off, it's Thanksgiving week, and West Virginia is, for West Virginia, the first week of hunting season is a national holiday anyhow. And our engineer's out of town, our representative is out of town, so this week is going to be another wasted week.
well, I will agree with you that this is a wasted week, but and nothing against you guys, but we've wasted a week ourselves. Back when they told
John,
us-
I don't believe that I have wasted any time
I'm
on
not
this
saying,
project.
Ben, we need a plan. And we can go up there and we can walk a line, we can look at the intake, we can look at the pump house. We need to get around that table right there and decide what we're going to do.
Well,
We have to step by step. If that bridge is a problem, then let's tackle the bridge problem. That's where we go. As far as I'm concerned, let's figure that out right now. If they're going to let us stay on that bridge or they ain't, but we can settle that. We can get that settled. I mean, they're going to tell us get the hell off of it, or you can use it. One or now, if they can use it, then like I said, then we need to decide what we're going to do then about our pump house up here. We refurbish that, or maybe put another one in down by the bridge. You know, where we can. A brand new one, access, you know, that I'm just saying I think we need to I think you need to get enough people that has enough knowledge to sit down at that table, and I'm not talking about the councilman stuff unless they're the water. We need to sit down at that table and we need to decide what we're going to do and how we're going to go about it. And when we got a plan, then we can go with something. If there's something that's going to stop us, if the bridge is going to stop us, then everybody at that table is going to know that the bridge is out. You know, there's no even sense talking about that no more. We either know one way or the other. If you're going to use the bridge or we can't use the bridge. but at least it won't be a question. Then we know if we can't use the bridge and we know we gotta go somewhere else, we gotta do something else. But I think we need to sit down at that table, get our heads together and figure out what we need to do and how we're gonna do it. And if it takes all of us to call Verso or congressman, if that's what we gotta do, that's what we do.
One thing we gotta do is figure out where the money's gonna come from to do this. And nobody wants to help.
Doesn't matter about the money,
Well,
Rick. The
the
money's
money-
not even a question until you know what you're going
Like
to
Ben
do.
said,
Now, when you know what you're going to do,
Well, like I
then let's
said,
talk about.
everything that we have talked about, you know.
Well, there's
They
nothing.
won't let us do it, they want us to do this.
I understand, but what I'm saying,
Well,
there's nothing that
To
we
be
can
honest,
do.
Rick,
about
I wouldn't let
water.
some government agency tell me how to operate my water system just to get money.
We don't want that.
That's the old trick, the way the government operates.
I
They
know.
give you
We
some
don't
money,
want that.
and they tell you how you're gonna do everything.
There's
It's not
strings
till we
attached.
want
There's,
that.
I
We don't
know
want
the
that.
town will know the money, but I don't see why we can't, you know, we've, like I said, I keep harping about, we've wasted 2 months. The town crew could have been up there on 135 and got that piece of line in there at the Borough Bridge and had that done. Now, it's still sitting there, you got open ends on each side of that bridge. That could have been done when the weather was still decent.
I figure we even bought. I bet you we even bought the pipe and all to tie that in. I don't know where it's at. It might be down here on Back Street.
Well,
There's a bunch of-
if you bought any pipe and it's been laying out in the,
Well, we bought all that pipe to
if
run
it's
that
been
line.
laying out in the sun and it's turned white,
Well,
it's
Well,
useless
we
now.
never
How
used
much
it.
is 20 feet of 10-inch pipe gonna cost?
Over $100 for a 20-foot section.
You know something else?
Yeah.
If it comes down to where we have to buy our water off of Westernport, like I said, there's only 3 kind of people in Piedmont. You got fixed income, low income, and no income. That's what you have in Piedmont.
It's the same
Now,
way
it used to
everywhere.
not be that way, but that's the way it is now. Now you get people that was on fixed income and low income. You give them a water bill, $150, $200. Well, I got news for you. They're going to be looking for a place in Kaiser to rent. They ain't going to be up here.
I just told Paula today, I got my letter from Central Hampshire yesterday. They're raising our water bills from 36 to over $40.
Well, that's not. It's $36 to $40. That ain't. I mean, that's a
10%
reasonable raise.
increase you're talking
That ain't
about.
gonna-
We go
that ain't
west,
gonna
it's
touch what
100%.
That's
Russian
just
water
on the
pays
water
you.
bill. We also have to pay extra money to help them buy water off the city of Romney.
All right, I got a question for you. If you buy water off Westernport, do you know Westernport pays a bay fee?
Mm-hmm,
And do you know Westernport pays a trunk line fee?
mm-hmm.
And do you think that they're going to give us water when the people in Westernport has to pay that fee and they know that Piedmont's getting their water and they're not paying it? You think that's going to fly?
Well, yeah, that's exactly right, and you hit on a good point right there. You know, they thought we was gonna give just $25 for, but
That's
yeah,
going to be your fee. That's going to be your bay fee and your trunk line fee, $25
Right.
right there.
but this is why that connection didn't fly back when. And I looked over this contract a little bit. Sure, it said it was what 20-some cents per 1,000 gallon.
They gave us that
But anyhow, it also stated in there that it was $17 per
per
household.
household.
Added on to that for that trunk line fee
Yeah.
and stuff we're talking about.
You're right.
And I wouldn't have signed that either. You know, that was just idiotic. But, you know, yeah, this thing's got to move forward, but I thought we had a direction that we could focus on. Then it turns out to go bad. Then the other direction we're focused on, there's a roadblock here. So,
Well,
You know-
that was my point about getting enough people around the table who knows what's going on, and we can figure out where we're going to go. I mean, like I said, I knew if you run into a roadblock, if they're not going to let you have your pipeline on the bridge, then we know what we have to do. We can just wipe that off. I mean, we can go another direction, but we got to know what we're going to do. We got to. I mean, you
If we
got to
can't-
have some kind of a plan.
if we can't go on the bridge, what direction do we go? That's
Well,
the first. That's
Same
the
direction.
first
Now,
thing.
question.
If you run a
Okay,
Westernport
now,
line,
you just said you was gonna run a
water.
Westernport line underneath the river.
Yeah,
Isn't
but
that what you said?
yeah, but they
Well,
don't forget now. You know, this is all good. These are good ideas. However, you gotta sell this to the funding agencies too. And going under the river there was their idea, you know, over here. This is gonna be a little harder to sell coming under here to get to 100-year-old pipeline. And, you know, I'm with you everywhere, everything that you guys said, I'm with you 100%. But, you know, wishful thinking at its best and practicality at its worst. I mean, we just got to look at something that's practical and move forward with it.
But that's what I said, we have to know what we're gonna do. We have to figure out what is and what isn't. And like I said, getting back to the bridge again, if they're not gonna let us use the bridge, well then we know we can't, that's out. We don't have to, that's not even,
That's number one.
well, that's what I'm
What are
saying,
they
that's
gonna,
not
what are they
even,
gonna do?
that's
I
not
mean,
even what their
really?
discussion then, see?
Are they gonna come up there and dismantle that line on that bridge while water's
No.
flowing through it? That ain't gonna happen.
No,
It's not gonna happen.
no.
Court's not gonna allow it. It won't happen. That
There was-
line's been there
Let me
for
tell you,
over
Ben,
20
I don't know what was written down, what was said, who shook hands, but let me tell you, when that water line was put on that bridge, there was an agreement made. Believe me when I tell you that.
'Cause that was
We just didn't go up there and put a line across that bridge because we wanted the liner. There was an agreement made, and that agreement was probably with Westvaco. But that agreement, I would almost say, has to carry through the Verso, New Page, Meade, Westvaco. I mean, the bridge, nothing's changed. Only the name of the company, you know. I mean, but
Westvaco
there
actually
was an agreement made for
maintained
that
that line on
believe
the
me.
old bridge.
See that when they shut the old bridge down, the steel bridge that went to Luke, that's where our water line was. Well, see, that was the mills doing to shut that bridge down because they wanted to close that street. And the only way they could close that street was to shut that bridge down. And that was part of the deal about getting that water line off of that bridge. That was a question that was brought up. What about our water line? We'll put it down on the wooden bridge. And see, that's what I'm saying. There was deals made there, and there was agreements made. Who made them, I don't know. But I'm sure there's agreements made somewhere.
And there's gotta be a copy of that agreement somewhere.
Well, I say there's got to be an agreement somewhere because, like I said, we just
Yeah,
didn't get
well,
down there and put our line on the
The way
bridge.
Westvaco was when 40 years ago,
They was a good
guarantee you,
neighbor.
they was a written agreement. I don't know if you can find it. I'll guarantee you there was.
If you, I'd almost tell you the city of Piedmont don't have it because they didn't keep very good records. But I'll guarantee you that Westvaco has a copy of it because that's what was done.
That's what we're looking into right now. This Deborah's been looking into all these easements and things to get across the bridge and to get into the pipeline down across their property and the pump house. You know, there's not a lot of sense in worrying about what's ahead of you if you can't get from point A to point B. And you know, I think what we need to focus on is going from the pipeline where it is now. First off, get it across the bridge and a way to pump water. The other part, connecting them couple of parts up there, is going to be relatively simple. It shouldn't take that long at all. I don't know a lot about this kind of piping and all that, but couple of pipes together, you know, I've done a lot of it in my day since I've been on this city. We've fixed a lot of leaks, and big leaks, including some over there. So if we can do that, we can surely couple a line together and not even have a pump and make a provisions for a pump. You know, that to me, that's the first step from the pump house to the water plant. If we can get through that line back there, you know, like I said, the integrity has to be fairly decent down to the hollow there. And from here on across, what are we looking at? 4,000 feet, 3,000 feet? So, you know, we do have 7.5 miles of pipeline altogether coming from up at the reservoir or the draw off to the bridge. And that's what all these people that we're trying to get funding from is looking at. We got 107 miles of 100-year-old pipeline. And that's all I've been hearing. Maybe it is 100 years old, but if water still flows through it, it's okay. And, you know, that's what we gotta see, is there's no pressure on it, no more pressure on it than it's ever gonna be on it if the valve's turned off and it's static pressure sitting there. So,
It's not a question, Ben, let me help you with the pressure point. The pressure is part of the problem. But the big problem was when we would put that line, whenever we had that line offline for any reason, and we had to put it back online, you just can't go up there and crank the valves open and let water come run down through there because there's air and you get the hammering and that's what busts the line. That's why you have your Cold Springs and Frog Hollow, you got blow-offs. You get down there, you open them up, you open that valve up there at the intake, you let that, what you want to do is charge the line, completely charge it, no air in it. You get the air out of it. But once you get the pressure, the static pressure, is, you know, I mean,
it's just running.
you just don't hammer it in because with steam lines or water lines or anything, you don't do that, you know. But you gotta know what you're doing, and I'll tell you, you have to have them valves open up at Cold Spring and Frog Hollow. When you get all the air out of it, that's when you close them off and you come on down, you bleed your line. And then when you got all water in that line and no air, that's, you don't get the hammering effect, you know.
A lot of that pipe's been replaced too, Ben, over the years. A lot of that pipe's been replaced. All that pipe down along the offset warehouse, up at the mill, across the front lot, and down the street to the bridge, that's all new.
There's about 160 feet of it that's new.
Yeah, that's
From the maps that I got and what Marcus told me.
yeah, that was all that line was replaced when I was working there when they built that warehouse. All that line was replaced
Yeah, because
by the mill.
because they had to move the line over.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the 160 feet that's new.
And
Well-
we, like I said, we replaced a lot up in Savage, all the way from the bottom of the mountain to the filter plant's all new.
Well, we've had
There is-
several breaks already in that from the filter plant from the river to the filter plant.
The what?
We had several breaks in that thing already.
From the bottom of the mountain down to the filter plant?
Oh,
No,
the
not
bottom
there.
of the mountain.
Yeah, bottom of the backbone.
No, you haven't had any leaks there because I had
There's
to
no water in it.
No water.
Oh, okay. I
Never been
thought you
charged.
was meaning
That's the
up
question.
to the filter plant, up to our filter plant.
Oh, no. I was talking about the mill's filter plant.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. and they've replaced a lot of pipes been replaced along 8 and 9 through the years too. 8 and 9 paper machine, because that's right along the tracks.
And they run right along the tracks, right?
Yeah.
They run right in the center of the
And a
track.
lot of
Right
that
through the
pipe's
center.
been replaced.
And we had 2 breaks over there that I would just care not to even think about.
Yeah.
It's an idiot, I don't
It happened in the worst part of winter, and
Always did.
know. 26 hours.
I think the towns should look at the least restrictive alternative, and it's got to be get our
Savage.
water line in
Yeah.
service.
That's first
That's
problem.
Well,
what we're
it's-
saying,
it's-
Savage does
I
that.
mean, you get the water flowing. If you can get the water flowing, get that piece of piping, get the water flowing. Like I said, we'll at least get our demand. Like I said, our demand's not what it used to be. And I know the water used to go in the reservoir, but we got more water than we really needed because they used to dump water off the Oak Garden Road continuously, either there or come down this main 24-inch sewer line. You used to have water run all the time. So I think you get a sufficient flow in there, and you know, if we do get it running, I mean, we can work on getting a pump. I mean, we might be able to get some emergency funding through the governor's office or even maybe through the federal government or something to get a pump.
well, here's the thing, Pat, and I agree with you exactly what you said about getting emergency money, but the way these guys, we had this set up to do this once before, to fix the pump house and and hook back up to the line. Now, they start looking at this 7 miles of 100-year-old pipe. Then they start looking at other alternatives. But we, as a city, has never agreed to any of this. There's, what is there, 6 different options in that engineering book, and one of them is to refix our pump house and stuff. And it was pretty expensive. When you get all those guys involved in things, there's engineering costs, there's clerical costs, there's accounting costs. There's just more cost than probably what the pump's going to cost. So if we can show these guys that we're going to be doing things a little bit our way, I think would mean a lot in order to get better funding. But then again, some of these guys don't like independence. And that's basically what if we give in to all this right now, we're giving up our independence. We're giving up a lot of the things that supports this town as far as income. And I know this, and I do have a plan on how we was going to attack that, but there's different directions that everyone's going. My plan hasn't changed a whole lot, but when the engineers from the DEP starts getting involved and telling you what to do, you have to at least hear them out. And
Well, I agree with you, Ben, but if we work on getting our own line back in service, I think the most invasive action that the city's gonna be doing is getting in there to clean out their water intake. I don't see why DEP would be even bothering us.
well, the DEP doesn't, but the Corps of Engineers issues a 401 permit, which is water quality, right?
What's that?
401
Not
permit.
on me. I don't do the permitting stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're just a frog protector, huh?
Yeah, just here for the fish, I guess. No more than that, but like I said, just a fly on the wall for this one.
I can't see any government agency telling us we can't get in there and do what we have to do to clean our water intake. I mean, it's our property. I
Well, you
understand, I realize it's the water,
You
you
need
need the
permits.
water. You gotta get a permit, but
The
I
two
just
high-
can't see them.
Yeah, and the 2 highest
Prevent you
priorities
from
of
doing
any of the water and sewage, they're top of the list, buddy. I mean, there's nothing that goes. That's the top.
Well, we're going to be fighting that battle next.
Well,
Well, I can tell you,
but we just, I don't think if we go any other route other than getting our own water line back service, this town can't survive, financially cannot survive.
Not at the rates we've been quoted.
No.
It was put out there that just in January date it's going to be $1.35 per 1,000 gallons. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
that's right. Yeah, like I said,
And
they
that's,
got you by the throat. You're going to be their puppet, whether you like it or not. I mean,
well, I sent off an email. Did you copy that email I sent?
That one.
Yeah, this is where we basically had this thing, but to get to the bottom line here, that they wasn't going to give us a lot of allowance for fire hydrants, swimming pool, or fires in town. Rate increase for a 3-year contract would be $3.40 per 1,000 gallon. This will need more consideration before an agreement will be reached with the City of Piedmont. The City of Piedmont is willing to go at this project in a reasonable way, but with looking for any, we're looking for any suggestions that could make getting water to Piedmont easier. And that was sent by me, and I haven't got an answer on it yet. It was sent out Saturday, because that's when we had our meeting over here. And like I said, almost all the agencies are closed for the Thanksgiving holiday. So I believe that right now, if you guys want to do any planning or start making any steps, we need to do it between now and the 1st of January, and then start working the plan. And you know, there's things that can be done right now as far as, what do we do? Do we go across the bridge? Do we take the liability for the bridge if necessary? You know, there's a lot of things that's gonna be on the back of the city of Piedmont here too. It's not gonna be just everyone's giving up everything else to get us water here. We're gonna have to take in some of the responsibilities of this whole thing, as far as hooking up the pipe back to the original thing there at the pump house. You know what I mean, to get the pipe from up there joined to the pipe that's going to the water plant.
You're tied in up here with a valve.
Bypass
No,
valve.
there's no valve, there's no piping that needs changed.
No, you have a bypass
tied
valve
in.
on that pump.
There's a valve tied in there.
It's a 10-inch pipeline and a 4-inch bypass. Is that right?
No, I don't think so.
No.
I don't have the picture.
I think the bypass is just the same. It just it goes right. What it does, it just goes around that pump, so that whenever we had to work on that pump, and I worked on that pump up there. I did a lot of work on that, but the only thing that was is, you know, whenever you had to work on the pump or change the pump, well then you had to go, you know, do the bypass on it, which that meant water was still coming to Piedmont, but it wasn't
Not
going
through
through
the
that pump. That's all. But you can open the bypasses, like I said, leave the pump there. Hell, we don't need the pump, let it there. But
Do you remember how many gallons of,
No.
or what the gallons per minute was?
no, but if you look at
that.
the style of pump that was there, it was a double suction pump, I'm pretty sure. If you look at the pump in the model, and then you have to know what your lift is up to the reservoir, it'll tell you how many gallons a minute it'll pump. You know, they got a chart that'll tell you that.
That pump, before Piedmont went over onto the mill water, that pump was refurbished by the mill.
Yeah, we used to.
And I don't think that
See,
pump's
we-
probably got, it probably, I'm just guessing, I'm doing a number, it probably doesn't have 100 hours on it from the time because that's when they made the mill, or made the town put their own electric in. They took them off the mill electric, but they refurbed that pump and they told them,
That's it.
now
we're
there
done
it
with
is, that's
now.
it, we're
It's
done
yours.
with it. It's yours.
From
So
what
my question is, does anybody went up there and tried to hand turn that pump, see if it turns? I wouldn't want to start electrically because.
Well, there's no electric to the building now.
There's none there?
No.
I mean, well,
That was
try to
our.
turn it by hand
That
and
was
see
our
if
electric.
see if it turns.
The electric,
That wasn't the mill's electric. That was our electric.
well, the line's hanging
They cut
there
it?
beside the pole now.
Is that right?
Well, probably 10 years. There's no sense paying for
Well,
a connection
To
fee.
be honest with you, the town probably told them to disconnect
Yeah.
because they wasn't using it. So they probably was paying a monthly bill and they probably told
See, the
them
mill
to
used to take care of that
suspend
pump.
service.
They did everything to that pump. They rebuilt it. They took care of the electric and everything because we used to let them take
Use our
off of our water line whenever they needed water. And it was kind of what's that old saying, quid pro quo? You know,
Yeah.
you help me, I'll help you. And that's what it was. And they took care of the pump. Well, see, and they come to me one time, Charlie Ravenscraft, and he told us, he said, no more. We don't touch that pump no more. And that's when we told him, well, that's fine, but you don't cut into our valve up there anymore either. So then they kind of changed their mind then. But like I said, whenever you have an industry like that close to this town and all, even with Verso, I can't believe that they're going to make us take that line off that bridge because they owe us. I mean, we put up with the smell, the stink, the pollution, the noise. I mean, hell, health-wise, we've suffered. And now they're not gonna let us keep our water line on their bridge?
Well,
I mean,
you know, I wasn't the only one in that meeting when they told us we had to get the line off the bridge.
well, I'd like to know who said it, because I don't think that come from Verso Corporate, but like I said,
That
we're
didn't
in a
come
week's
from
time
Verso
on that.
Corporate. It
We
came
could-
from here.
I'm not gonna tell you what to do, that's up to you, but if I would set up a committee. You get some people that's gonna sit down at that table, and I don't mean once a month, I mean, if you have to do it every week, then that's what you do, but like I said, I would do it, Pat would do it, Mark should do it, Ernie, you, if you can get Jack Paul, and anybody that knows anything about that water system, sit down at that table and figure out what we gotta do, and what the obstacles are, and then eliminate them, either, like I said, when it comes to the bridge and the water line, either we can or we can't. If we can't, there's no sense that we're wasting time talking about it. You know, if they're gonna make us get off the bridge, then,
And I would
Yeah.
put that bridge deal at the bottom of the list, cause I
Yeah, I
think
would too.
there's,
but like I said,
they
if we
try
get
to do
together,
anything, you can file writ of prohibition against them. I don't
Well,
think,
that, for me, I was putting it at the top of the list simply because
I wouldn't.
what good is a pipeline if you can't get it across the river? That's my point.
I understand that, you're
I
right,
think-
you're
I think
right, but
any
I'm saying,
court-
for them to throw you off of that bridge,
Yeah.
they might say it, but, you know.
You might have to go into some legal issues and all that, but I don't think any court
Like I told you, there's an
is gonna
agreement
rule
somewhere.
that they're gonna let them, after having a pipeline on there for 40 years, they're gonna say, well, you gotta take it off now. Now,
Anything Westvaco did for the town and stuff like that, just like your pool and everything, you know. That was all done, and there was lawyers that sat in on that, and there was papers signed, and, I mean, that's not just a verbal agreement, you know, that's not what that is. They put it in writing because they knew enough to protect themselves. And I'm sure that that's in writing somewhere where that water line could stay on that bridge.
Is there a
Well, I'm
written-
sure it is too, but if the wrong guy finds it, he could just say, "Oh, I didn't see that."
Is there a written statement about taking the water line off the bridge? You said it was brought up in a meeting.
Yeah,
It's something that's like a declared statement, like a legal document?
it ain't been documented
Okay.
that I know of, unless it was through our engineering group. But our engineering group was the one that was involved in this meeting that more or less was the person that was being told that we had to take it off the bridge. And that was done engineering. And I guess there's not a lot of speculations in the contract at all about taking pipes overland across the river, right?
Is that, like I said, I gotta talk later on all that stuff. Yeah, I don't have anything to say about permitting and all the rules and stuff.
Well, I got like 7 or 8 pages of names here for permits, and I think I got that pretty well under control. But the thing of it is, if a person owns a bridge and tells you can't cross that bridge, you know, I respect the fact of ownership. You know, I try to negotiate to the point where you don't have to push and shove and scratch and claw. So we could be really close to being at that point. And I hate to mess it all up at this time. But if that's what everybody in the city would like to see, that's fine with me.
but I would even think then, if we can get our water line operational, and it gets to the point where, yes, they say, okay, you have to take your line, I think your chances of getting any funding is gonna be a lot better to run that line under the river, or, you know, whatever we have to do,
Mm-hmm.
rather than if there's another alternative sitting there looking at you, and they're just like they're telling you now, in order to get the funding, you're gonna have to do this temporarily, you're gonna have to go to Westernport. If we get that water running, get our own water running across that line, and it does come down to the point where they say, okay, you do have to take it off there, and the court says, yes, you do have to take it off there. I think your chances of getting that funding is gonna be a lot greater at that point in time.
Well, I agree with that 100%. That's why I've been going through the negotiations with these permits and stuff. And, you know, this raw water line project hasn't stopped on my behalf. It's just that we got to explore all options. I mean, that's just what we have to do at this point. And I can see that it's not going to be near as economical to go off of anybody else other than your own. You know, if you got your own source, that's, you know, it's just like more or less owning your own car or paying a taxi driver. So, you know, it's a no-brainer. But you do have to follow procedure, and it don't matter who you are or what you're going to tell these guys. Procedure is procedure. And I have followed procedure. And I think that the procedure that I followed is going to put us in a lot better situation here in the future because of being able to move forward with the permits in a rapid pace. And getting across the bridge, though, that's concerned me. It really does. It concerns me a lot.
Well, I understand that.
Whether you go, but like you said too, on the other hand, if you got an operating pipeline, it's a lot easier than having a 7-mile pipeline that's deteriorated and not having any flow in it whatsoever. So I do think that, you know, the option is there to get us under the river. And we probably need to strive toward getting some water in that line before, say, March.
Well, that's what I was gonna suggest. Why can't we, the town, like I said, it's been 2 months now since this was discussed. Why can't we get the town crew up there, and I understand you're probably gonna get a permit from the state of Maryland, which that could have been done in the past 60 days. To get up there and get that line in the ground there at the Borough Bridge entrance. And get up there and start getting the clean out opened up and get us water, get the water flowing. I mean, we know we have a viable line from the mill to the filter plant. The water's running through that now. The only issue we have to deal with is from our intake down to the mill's filter plant. So why can't we, the first step is go up there and get that piece of line put in there and see if we can get water running.
Where is this piece of line that needs put in? Across the bridge, across there at the new Borough Bridge?
Yeah.
And does it have to come across the cement of the bridge or?
No, it doesn't have to go across the bridge.
It's right in front of the bridge. Right on the berm of the road.
I don't know if that's concrete or blacktop there, but it's
asphalt
the approach
there
to the bridge.
Going on the bridge.
But you might even be able to go out around the bridge abutment and come back in, you know. You'd have your line
Maybe just
exposed,
go like
but
this,
come out of the ground,
back out.
go out by the river and around the bridge.
Is there
You'd
enough
have to
pressure
put
to
some,
gravity feed it from there to here? Put a line up without a pump?
Well, that's what we're discussing, but they say that the water would gravity feed to the plant. But you know, I'm thinking that you could put a 4-inch jockey pump down there or something and basically give us enough
No.
pressure.
No.
Would a 4-inch do it?
There's no, the water you're getting now, it's not being pumped.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's,
Not by our pump.
Not by our
pump,
pump,
no,
but
the
the
mill's
mill's
pumping it.
pumping it.
Yeah, they got the big pumps up there in the
Yeah.
filter plant.
and they're not giving us very much water right now either.
They're not only
Probably
pumping
not
to us,
making
but
enough.
they're pumping to Luke at the same time.
They're pumping the fire tank.
Yeah. We're on their potable water now.
Oh, you are?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I'm here to tell you, it's kind of nail biting time whenever I turn it on, hoping I get enough flow to get filled up during the day. They told us that we would get water, but they didn't tell us how much.
See ya.
And
Bye,
it-
Jeannie.
See you, Gene.
See
You say when they switches to potable water?
Couple,
2 weeks ago.
about 2
Oh,
weeks
okay.
ago.
2 weeks ago Thursday. Thursday will be 2 weeks.
And they took us from where we had 300 gallon a minute raw water down to where we got about 80 gallon a minute of potable water, which right now I'm only running one filter. I can't run them both.
Yeah.
And I've got the one filter cut back as far as I can cut it back. And every now and then I have to shut down and let everything build back up or it'll drain the filter.
What do you guys was there when this line was put in and all of that? To get across and get both of these lines hooked up, what's the estimated cost?
Well, cost wise, I couldn't tell you.
How
I
much
mean, if
line?
the town crew does the work,
You
the
can-
only
it's
expense you're
not-
gonna have
yeah.
is their work, I mean, and plus the cost of the pipe. Well, Ernie said
It
about
might be
20
cheaper to
feet.
get built to do it.
I don't think pipe's that cheap. I know just 3-inch pipe was $120 a 20-foot length.
Yeah, but
I don't think you'd have $500 in the pipe.
you'd have a little bit, wouldn't you?
What's the schedule on that pipe? It's not.
80?
No, it's what is it?
It's either C900 or C1800.
C900, I think it was.
What was it?
C900.
That sounds
That's
right.
plastic weight.
Yeah, but that's the it's in between Schedule 80 or whatever. It's some kind of plastic formula they work out of. But yeah, this is something that really needs to be looked at really hard, and it needs to be looked at as far as a game plan for something by the first of the year.
Yeah, this is something that we just. I agree
Here's-
with you.
here's the
This
thing.
is something we can't sit on. We can't wait until
What I said, we need to get something
March
together.
or April for the federal government or whoever it is to come through and say, well, yeah, you're gonna get funding, or we're not gonna give you the funding if you don't do this. And that's gonna be too late for
If
that.
they tell you you
We
can't
need to
do
move
it,
on it now.
you know, we don't have much of a choice, we gotta drink.
Well,
So-
that is true, but we also, I think the more resistance we put on, the better off it's gonna be, but, then again, you don't wanna resist yourself right out of nothing.
True.
And
But-
that's where you gotta be careful, you know.
Well, man, let me tell you, and I don't wanna bring up history, but I'm gonna tell you, this town has been mismanaged for a long time. It even had its point where they didn't want you to come in here to a council meeting. But, and that's why you've got the problem right now that you've got. You didn't cause it.
Well, I
You
know.
inherited it. But I'm gonna tell you, I know people come over here, and I was one of them, and I raised the devil about getting that water line, and I was even told I wasn't allowed to speak in the meeting. I had to leave. That we had one mayor here that if you had to sign this sign-up sheet, he started that, and if you signed, anybody signed the sign-up sheet, well then he canceled the meetings. We went 1 year,
Community.
2 meetings in 1 year. 2 meetings in 1 year because somebody signed the sign-up sheet, see? And then we had mayors in here that were, God bless me for saying that they were so damn incompetent, it was pathetic, you know, and they did nothing. And that, like I said, we've been sucking off this water system for so long. We put zero back into it, nothing. We put nothing back into it. And that water system's no different in your car. You want it to run good, you change your oil. You put filters on it, you know, you have it serviced, you know, you take care of it, you know. But we had a water system here that we laid on it, nobody did nothing. Just, and I, like I said, I get so frustrated about that. Like I said, and I'll be the first to tell you, you didn't do it. You inherited it.
Well, I know that, but I'm not the one that's gonna back away from the project either.
I don't think any of us is gonna back away from it now. I mean, like I said, I'm not on the council, Pat's not on the council, but we're here. And I know other people that's willing to come over here and sit down, and they're willing to help you. And these were the same people that complained before and tried to get them to do it. The way things were, just like our garbage system. You know why we don't have garbage?
I got a good idea.
I can tell you why you don't have it, because the town crew did not want to pick up garbage. That's why we didn't have it. And they convinced Frida Fisher that we was losing money on it, and so she said, okay, then stop it. Get rid of the garbage truck and let somebody else collect their garbage. That's the only reason it was done. I begged her in a council meeting, before you do that, can we sit down and talk about this cost and stuff? You show me where you're losing money. Yeah, oh yeah, they promised you, but they never called me or anybody else for anything, they just did it. And like I said, what she
Well,
cost this town, and
We're paying for a lot of mistakes that the past
sure we are.
gave us, but you know, there's no sense in dwelling on the past. You got to move forward, and that's just, you know.
Yeah, but
I
the
agree
only
with
thing
that.
about
That's
the
why
past-
we're here. We
the
care
only thing about the
town.
past, don't make the same
We're
mistakes
trying to
again,
get
that's
that
why I'm
from
here.
happening again. We don't
Because
wanna
I've
see
seen it
that
happen. I've seen it happen several times. I've seen clerks that robbed this place, and you know it, and I know it.
Yeah.
And not only did they rob it and they walk out of here, they hired another one to come back in, and she did the same damn thing and walked out here the same way. You know, it happened. I mean, they did it. It wasn't once, it wasn't twice, it was 3 times.
And a lot of mayors did that too.
And they let it happen. Like I said, I know we're talking about water, but right now, you got a financial secretary? Does she give you a copy at your council meetings of what what you have in the bank or anything? You know anything about how much we have in the bank?
I think it's in Paul's report, isn't it?
I mean, how many
Yes,
accounts do we have?
It's down to,
I mean, do you used to get a report on that? Do you used to vote on paying the bills?
Hmm?
When I was on the council, we voted on paying the electric bills for the street lights. Any cost that come across that table, we voted on them, you know. And I know for a long time, there was no financial report. Whatever people come here, they didn't know what we had. If they did, they would have went back on because we had nothing.
Yeah.
We had 19 accounts in the Piedmont Bank and 0 money on them.
There's not a lot of anything left.
But like I was saying, you know, I'm here because I don't want to see the same mistakes made again. Forget about what I've been saying. We're talking about water. But I don't want to see, the reason we're not on our water right now is because somebody was lazy. We put that new line in, we upgraded our trunk line from Savage River, we upgraded it now. And they never put a drop of water through it. They just stopped. And that's been over 10 years ago.
Well,
And nobody's looked at it.
you know as well as I do, Ben, Paula, all
I'm
of
not
them
blaming
know,
you.
I'm dead set against being a purchase water system.
Well, like I said,
Because
I'm
I've
not-
been through it before and it is a nightmare.
Don't want it.
All right, we know what everybody wants on this thing. Ernie, why don't you try to set something up here that you're gonna, and I wanna say one thing. I'll help all I can, but I do have a job, and you know I'm good for 2 days a week, but we can get the people together that's willing to join into this. When is everybody available? When can we start?
If you want to hear my suggestion,
Yeah.
I think Paula, being mayor, she ought to ask you if you want to make a water council or something about this problem, something that can address this problem. And you just want some people to sit down at that table every week and figure out what we have to do, who we got to talk to, and get these obstacles out of the way. I'll do it. Pat will do it. Marshall will do it. You'll do it. But I think we have to act on it. We can't say, well, okay, you know, we'll go home today and we'll talk about it again when we come to it. We need to set some dates up where we can come in here in the evening and have a little meeting and talk about what's got to be done and go from there. Yeah, there, that man's an engineer. But I'm gonna tell you something. One person, you ain't gonna fix it. He ain't gonna fix it. I don't think you are anyway, not unless you're a hell of a lot better man than I think you are, but it's gonna take a team to fix it.
You know,
And I think being all on you, I don't think that's fair to you, man.
Well, there's a lot of things that gets me about, you know, phone calls, emails, everything else that has to be done in order to cover your rear on everything you do. And if you didn't have to have that cover your ass scenario, everything would be a lot better off.
Well,
And
Why is that, Ben?
huh?
Why is that not tracking things with your emails and all that would be a better scenario than what you're saying, being open and transparent with your information? Why
Well,
would it be better?
there's nothing open and transparent about nothing.
So why are you saying it would be better if you didn't have to?
If
do
you
all
could
that?
say what you wanted to say without a bunch of repercussion over it. That's what I'm
Oh,
saying.
we'd all love that. We would all love that.
Yeah.
I think there ought to be a contact person,
Sure.
and it's gonna be you. That you're gonna be the one that hears from, I mean, they can't be just speaking to everybody, they gotta have somebody they can contact. But then when you sit at that table there, we can come up with some solutions, at least we can help you with the answers, and, I mean, like I said, and then we can go from there, but,
I think the more independent we are, this
Well,
town is gonna be, we're better off, 'cause to start depending on somebody else.
We're gonna have to do this a little bit within business hours on certain days too, so, the plan's gonna have to stem around a little bit of an earlier day rather than 5 o'clock on.
well, I'm pretty busy.
It's
but
fine
I'll
with me,
try to
I mean,
make
as long
it
as I knew ahead of time, so I can
anytime
adjust
you
my
want.
schedules. I mean,
I'll come over
my
anytime
schedule's
you want.
stuck 2 months ahead of time, but
Just so it ain't before 10 o'clock in the morning, I don't get up early. You get up early, you still work, I did for 40 years, so.
Okay, we come to the conclusion that Ernie will get things rolling here. Actually, we can't really say we're gonna make a decision on any of this tonight as far as a meeting goes.
Well, you can't make any motions, and you can't pass any resolutions, but we can come up with some kind of, or are we gonna make a, you know, are you gonna come up with some kind of committee, it's gonna come in here, and, you know, if we are, then
Have a planning meeting. We can
figure out what a
schedule a
good,
planning
what a
meeting.
good time is. It doesn't have to be the same time every week, or, you know, it don't have to be the same day every week. What's convenient, you know, I mean.
We'll work around you. We'll work with you for time and stuff.
Mhm.
Not before 10 o'clock a.m. too.
But as much as you put into it, I'll still say this, two heads are better than one. That's all I'm saying.
I don't doubt that a bit, John, but there's a lot of things that you guys all as a group here, if we're gonna be involved in this, have to understand that before you can get from point A to point B, you gotta ask Big Brother if you can do it.
Yeah,
And that's
I'll
what
agree
we're
to you.
A lot of us
I
have
agree.
experience doing exactly that, Ben. A lot of us have experience doing exactly that. Getting very difficult projects done and put past people that are against them. I may have experience with that too, you just have never asked me. I've been offering my help for years, and you just really, you don't even share what you're doing. So that's why we're all in here
Well, see,
and asking
Denny,
about
this is just the thing. Here, the way you're talking to me right now, you're blaming me for this stuff.
No, I'm not
This is
blaming
just
you,
a big
Ben.
part
I'm
of
blaming
this
you
as
for being
well.
secretive about it and not involving us in having meetings. We're just now talking about having some public meetings about this. We're way, way late on this.
Well,
We've known about this for
I
a
don't
couple
think
of
anybody
years that
blames
we've
you,
needed
Ben.
to
They're
do
not-
this.
I told you, you inherited this problem. I'm sure Denny will agree with you. I mean, he hadn't been here as long as us, but I know you inherited what's going on here. I know that. I mean,
But we can't just look back and not look and learn from the lessons, because a lot of the problems have happened in the last 4 years. And we have gotten new problems since then, and so it isn't all just inherited. We need to be honest about what's going on and work on this stuff, or it's just gonna be the same over and over and over. I've been reading newspapers going back 20 years, because that's online now. You can read all the old Piedmont Heralds and all that. And I see these same discussions being had in there, with you guys in here, John and Pat, saying the same things and being ignored. And it's documented in the newspaper. They used to write very detailed notes about the meetings in there. It's very educational, and I'm trying to find out when we actually made agreements about the water. I'm doing some research on my own. I put a lot of time into these things
Yeah.
that I don't get paid for. I don't get paid for doing this. I bought my equipment. I do the YouTube thing. I do that to help the town, and I think it is helping. So we need to involve more people, Ben, and that's what we're all upset about, is that we feel like we haven't been involved. You had a meeting in September and told us all these things, and there hasn't been anything new since
been
then.
done.
So we're ready for something new. So let's have a meeting next week or something. You know, we'll all be there. We're ready, or you know, whenever.
Well,
you
what
guys are
day,
ready.
what day next week would,
Whatever works for you guys best. I'm right
You
across
guys
the street
work.
from there all the time.
you tell me.
how about, next Thursday?
Thursday.
Not
Around-
this Thursday.
Uh,
Not this Thursday.
not this Thursday,
Not this-
next Thursday.
Next.
I don't care if
Which
you
is
want
the
to make
fifth?
it
Around,
Thursday.
around 3:30?
I don't care if he can make it.
Yeah,
I'll
that's
make
fine.
it. I really think even if you have to go over and beat on Marcus's door, I think he's going to be a big plus to this. I think he's got a lot of stuff to offer to you. But it's like Ben said, we got to know from point A to point B. If we have a meeting, at least we'll know where point A is, or we know where we have to go to or where from. But
3:30
So I
a.m.
got John, Pat, Marcus,
Yeah.
Ben, Denny, and if we can get Jack Poland involved.
well, Jack lives in Fort Ashby.
Oh, do you move
No,
to
he
Ashby?
lives in Kaiser.
Oh, does he now? Okay, I heard. If he can get up here, Jack don't have.
No, I'll be here.
Jack, I don't think he has a vehicle.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he
Does
does.
he?
Yeah,
But I think Jack would come up there and help you.
He said he would.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you something. Old
Yeah.
Jack Poland was the guy that was down in the hole putting these valves and stuff in. I worked with him up the reservoir, and we put all new valves coming out of the basins. And we put, me and Jack was down in the hole. We put those valves in there. And I'll tell you something, Jack Poland's a worker, buddy. He might be a little goofy, but
Always was.
well, but
He
he's
always
a
was a
There
worker.
never
I
was a normal Poland.
maybe not, but I can tell you this: he was a worker and he knew that
He did,
water
yeah.
system.
I knew his family real well.
What's Thursday's date?
5th.
That's the Christmas tree.
Oh, that's Christmas parade.
Well,
Is
take
it?
another-
Oh, we'll be out there before that.
Okay.
yeah, like I said,
Let's get started. Get some stuff.
anything will stop me is if I got a doctor's appointment. Other than that, I'll. But
Writing some
even if one of us can't make it, that doesn't mean the rest of us can't make it. But somebody can keep minutes of what we're doing and where we're going. You know, like I said, if we find out what we can't do, I'll do it if I have to. But
I don't think anybody could read my hand scratch.
I think we need a plan. And when we come out of the meeting over at the Legion, we talked about stuff, but we walked out of there. I walked out of there with the impression that we had some kind of a plan going, but we didn't have any plan going at all.
Well, we did have a plan, John. It's just that the plan that we had going blew up in our face 2 days later. And that was putting valving in over there at the pump house. And that was estimated to be a $250,000 project. Well, you know, like I said, the project is one thing. Getting all these gurus involved in as far as engineering goes, the consulting people, the people that are doing the accounting and everything
At
else,
least we'll
like
know who
Region
they
8.
are and we'll know what their phone number is. And the only thing worse than a robocaller is all of us calling somebody. So I know how to dial a number. I'll dial it. If I got to get a hold of McKinley or Hal or whoever, I don't care. I'll call them. Pat will call them. Rick will call
I
them.
mean, we need a pump. I mean, we can look at surplus. You know, either
You can get government surplus pumps. I was,
out of the state.
I
I get
worked-
surplus emails all the time from the surplus down in Charleston.
I was an industrial mill rate. I changed them pumps up there in the mill.
Army.
I never changed this our pump that I'm talking about, but I have rebuilt it. I've worked on it. I've rebuilt it, but it's not going to be free. But it ain't going to be. It's not going to be no air. Even if you replace the pump. I mean,
You're looking at, from what I gathered, around $30,000.
I'd say that'd be more reasonable. Yeah, for a pump and having it installed and everything.
That's the pump and a
Well, you're
three-phase motor.
talking about installing.
We spent that much rebuilding the pumps on, down here in Back Street that we ended up not using. We spent $40,000 rebuilding those, so I don't think we should complain about spending $30,000 per pump for our
That's
water.
water.
If that's what it costs, that's
It's
still
gonna
going to
cost
be
what it's
cheaper
gonna
than working
cost,
for it.
but I agree, we shouldn't give up till we have that line
Right.
connected. There should be no other alternative, and if we stand firm on that, we'll get it.
It's
That's how it
really
needs to happen.
Cause we need our own line running.
it's really
I
not
think
a
we'll have a better chance.
you
of
know, we
getting
gotta come up with
Middle of the night, so they'll never cut it.
getting electricity in there. You know, it's probably going to have to be re-inspected too.
Well, yeah, if you get an electric hookup, it's going to be, yeah.
And the electrical system in there is pretty poor. And the three-phase power that's coming into there, I'm not sure that if it was in there as three-phase power or it was add a phase that was put in.
I'm pretty sure it was a 3-phase. But we had to lock it out, it went,
You know, 3-phase is a lot more efficient than single phase, so, you know, if you're gonna put power in, that's the way to do it, but. Well, okay, it sounds like we got a plan, and,
next Thursday, 3:30.
Thursday at 3:30.
A little town today. Thursday at 3:30, I'll be here.
I'll be here.
We're gonna have refreshments.
You bring the beer.
I'll bring the popcorn. At least, just to say the last thing before we leave, or at least, I think now at least we're walking there, we know something that we're gonna try to do. Now what happens out of it, maybe nothing, I don't know, maybe everything that, but I
Well,
think,
there's a sequence of events that have to go on in order to get to where we are today and say, yes, we're gonna do all this stuff.
I agree.
And that
If we're gonna
sequence
do
of
anything,
events is,
we gotta get up in the morning early, we ain't gonna do anything, are we? Like I said, there's things we have to do, I know.
Where'd you get it?
You know,
But I'll tell you what, you look at us right here now, we're 2019, and we're trying to get some water through a line that people 100 years ago, they laid that line, and I'm gonna tell you, they didn't have no backhoes. You know what, I mean, think about that, they put 7 miles of pipeline in 100 years ago, a little town, to get water down here. And by God, it worked, and it worked good, and it worked good for almost 100 years till we,
they had people that would work back then. Now,
well,
we're just,
You know, years ago, these 3 towns, Piedmont, Westport, Luke, went out of their way to help each other.
yeah,
There was no
let me tell you, if it would've
strings
worked,
attached to it.
Right.
if it
Now
would've
they
worked the
want
way it
the
should've
boat to
worked,
us.
Westernport should've been buying water off of us.